What's going on? We're on the air. You know how long it's been since America hasn't heard from you in forever. Wow.
Well, it's funny because I was just listening to you a little bit earlier. You were,
I was screaming. I was screaming and yelling, wasn't I? I was pretty.
Oh, yeah, big time.
I was very upset. I don't like this entitlement to America thing. I was. I worry down the hall that the neighbors are going to be like, "That's it." They can't have this guy. But I don't care. This is urgent. Thank you for checking in on us. Well, you sound clear as a bell. We have a great connection.
Yeah. Well, I'm like in the middle, outside in a place where I think I have free reign for the electromagnetic wavelengths. So I think I'm okay.
So Rand Paul has gotten to you because we have to prepare for the electromagnetic pulse attack. George Noory dedicated his show.
Right.
He dedicated.
I'm a real product of Art Bell, is what I'm saying.
George Noory is one of your heroes, I know. You and I talked about your love of George Noory and his program. It's called Coast to Coast America. He took over for Art Bell. And Art Bell, closed up his trailer in Pahrump, Nevada. You remember this?
Pahrump, right.
Pahrump comes from Pahrump, and he shut operations down a couple of times. But he always makes comebacks. He makes a lot of comebacks, Art Bell. Art Bell is always he's always coming back. So I got some exciting news. You ready for this?
Sure.
I got a little news for you. There is a television network that has just begun online that has been a website forever, for the longest time. Since the late 80s, they have been a website. And they're very conservative, and they balance off NBC, CBS. The name is not a household name yet, but some people totally know this network. I'm going to be curious if you've ever heard the name. It goes like this. Have you ever heard of Newsmax?
Yeah, I have heard of it.
Okay, now you're going to love what they're doing. They are launching a live, better than Fox conservative network. That's their deal. They fed up with the liberal, they go, there's like 5 of them and against 1 of Fox. So they go, there's room for another one. Now, do you remember Steve Maltzberg, the talk show guy?
Oh, sure.
You do?
Yeah. Big New York guy.
That's correct. Very good. Bob Bell knows his talk radio. So here's the exciting part. Steve has a show on television during the day. I don't know his exact shift, but he's on in the daytime. So I'm going to be a guest on his show on Newsmax on this burgeoning, and who knows what happens? Who knows what the future leads? But it's very exciting because Newsmax has been around since the late 80s. I don't know exactly what year, what date, but I know in the 80s, I was in it. I was on the front page of Newsmax. The landing. Oh, yeah. Me and Buckwheat and were right there. And, everybody was protesting me, and they stood up for me. And Bob Grant stuck up for me, and Bob Grant had me on his show. That's how Bob Grant and I met, over me getting called out for using the word buckwheat on the air.
Right.
That's it. So now Newsmax is a big thing, and I'm excited because of course there's room for more networks. Why wouldn't there be? If we're going to have 150 networks on how to fix a house, 100 networks on how to bake a cake, your favorite, the Ace of Cakes, Bob.
Oh, boy. You're hitting it back, blowing all those whistles now. Basic Cakes.
Ace of Cakes, Bob Bell. See, this is what I love. We got to get a video of you and put it on the show website of you doing some of your material. Because the other day, was recreating the line. So you'll know one word, and you know what I'm saying. They're not all Mickey Mantles out there. They're not all Mickey Mantles out there. Okay?
True words my dad has never spoken.
They're not all Mickey Mouse. Put them in, and you said I don't want to go. You're like me when I was a guy. No, you don't have to put me in there. There's too much pressure. Put them in. They're not all Mickey Mantles out there. Put them in. Put them in. Put them in.
Did you tell him what happened?
No, that's your joke. I don't want to steal your thunder. But
boy. No, for everyone listening to it, I was horrible. I was absolutely terrible. I totally sucked. I absolutely could not hit. I couldn't feel. I was absolutely terrible. And it's like, well, Mickey Mantle. Well, I'm no Mickey Mantle, that's for sure. Forget about it. That was the end of my baseball career. Not that I ever had one, but that was it. 10 guys on the team, 9 guys on the field, 1 guy on the bench. And there was a reason for that.
That's it.
Exactly. I was that one guy.
That's what you were trying to explain to your dad. Your dad did not want to understand that was a reason that you were not being put in. You might have had you had the uniform on, but anybody can get dressed. I mean, anybody can stand there, hold a glove. It's the minute they put you on the field, everything changes. You're out there, oh boy, they're gonna hit one right to me. That's it. This ball's gonna come at me like a rocket, and I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, and he was like a lot of old dads back then, they're very involved, and then he saw that, and I could see it coming because I saw him getting more and more frustrated. He was one of the few guys out there, on the sitting in the bleachers back then. It was 4 people, and watching the game. Nobody even went to the game. Well, all of a sudden, I saw him walking across center field. I was like, "Oh no, here it comes!" But he's and he goes right up to the coach, and the coach is like, "What's going on?" He's like, "The game. You're stopping the game." He's like, "The center fielder's looking like, who is this guy?" I mean, that's it. That was that was my childhood in a nutshell, really, right there.
That's it.
God.
That's it. And I love it when the father oversells the kid, and the kid is just dying because the kid is like, "Don't say this. I can't deliver on this." Put him in.
Yeah.
They're not all Mickey Mantles. Put him in. Put him in. In other words, your father's like, "What can happen?" You know exactly what can happen. The ball can.
Yeah. Oh, I knew it. I just got to happen.
The ball could come to you, and it'd be a disaster. They would go from being up 2 runs to being down 1 run. Everybody looking at you, get booed. You ever see a kid get booed? He has 2 bad plays in a row, and the whole crowd turns on, booing him out of there, booing him out. All right, I'll give you my best Little League story. Okay, I have a Little League story for you. I have not used this in my act, so this is not a joke. This is a true story, but it relates to what you're saying. I'm playing third base, which is the hot corner. Okay. I don't know how to play third base. We're kids. I'm on third.
That's a tough position. Third base is a tough position.
Every ground ball.
Once down the line, sure, yeah.
And also, did you know, I didn't know anything about this when I was a kid, about the cutoff throw or any of this? Okay.
Oh, right.
Okay, so here's how it goes. Here's how the cutoff throw goes in my career of baseball, in my Ed Till baseball career. Here's the story of the cutoff throw. I don't know about it. So I'm watching home plate. The cutoff throw hits me in the back of the head, full speed. I go out like a bowling pin. I go down like a 10-pin, man. Bang, I'm out. And then all I know about the cutoff throw is that I'm dazed and confused. And everybody goes, what happened to him? Well, everybody's standing over me. What happened to him? And the guy goes, he doesn't know about the cutoff throw. That's all I kept hearing while I was on the ground. You don't know about the cutoff? I did not. I found out about the cutoff throw.
It's like early Mets 1963. That was the sort of things that used to happen on the field. For 2 guys running in the second base, one lapping the other.
That's it. That's right. The guy, I love that. When the guy laps the guy in second base.
Oh God.
Or the kid. The kid who knows it's wrong, and he's yelling at the kid, "Hurry! Hurry!" He's right behind him, but he won't lap him and get called out. Right.
Yeah.
I love Little League. Little League was one of the worst experiences of my life. Psychological trauma used to start the minute I put the uniform on in the house.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, sure. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, what's now? I mean, the crazy thing now is you have the parents. They were always crazy back then, but even more so now because people see, okay, my kid has a certain amount of talent. They push the kid, and you get the parents get into fights with the coaches. And I mean, my father was a little nuts, but I mean, he even had his limits. But nowadays, forget it. I mean, you have everybody's they're buying, for the coach, buying them this to get the kid on the first team. It's nuts now.
Well, everybody thinks if their kid hits 1 home run, why don't they make $12 million someday? That's the immediate leap today. Oh, look, my kid hit a home run. He's 12 years old. I'd say he'd be making $12 million a year. So the idea of we looked at sports as the great Mount Olympus people played sports, and we looked up to them. Today, everybody's like, well, why can't I be that guy? How come I'm not the star of the team? You know, it kind of. So I think that's what happens. The parents buy into this. They go, yeah, don't call my son out. He'll never make 12,000, a game or something. He goes, shut up and sit down. Your kid is 8 years old.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's compounded by the money issue too, because people, I mean, even parents, again, the kid's sort of good. He's like the star in high school. All of a sudden, they see dollar signs and they're pushed all types of camps, and I mean, and there's a whole industry to do that, to kind of like play off of people who, they have good kids. Maybe they're not, they'll be good college players. They'll never make it, but there's a whole industry to take those kids and put them in the camps and pay like the $10,000 for the summer. I mean, it's incredible, ungodly amount, and so it all feeds off of what's going on. So it's not just the sort of the game like you played in high school, college, whatever.
All right. Well, listen, speaking of what's going on, you did it now. See, this is why I love having you on the phone. I'm glad you're sounding terrific today. You say, what's going on? You throw out that phrase. Since the last time you and I spoke, I'm going to give you the list, and I'm going to write it as I say it to you, and then we're going to go over this list together. It's a checklist of what's going on. This is incredible. I'm going to write this right now with you, just like we're doing comedy. Pen and paper. I never use pen and paper. Go ahead. So the first one is, since you and I spoke, the Gaza war, we'll call it. Okay, we got that one. Since you and I spoke, ISIS is moving everywhere. Since you and I spoke, the immigration, the kids from Central America, it's insane with the kids on the border just arriving and where to put them and where they go. Since the last time you and I spoke, let's see, United States, oh, sure, the gross domestic product roared back to 4%, but then the job number was flat. So they keep squeezing. Am I right? They're squeezing the same towel from the pool. How many times are you going to squeeze the water out of the same towel? They squeeze. So that's what I think is happening on Wall Street. Correction time, by the way, on Wall Street. And then I want on the pop culture side, I just want to mention to you the return of a political comedy resurgence is happening again. There's another Dean Obadala, but he's really in the mix. He's from Gaza. He's a comic in Gaza and goes around in American comedy clubs and European comedy clubs, and his routine is up in your face comedy. And I heard him on CNN. I got a big fat clip of him. So I want to let me write comedy. Okay. So now go for it. What's the first one's first? The war with the Israelis. What's your thought on this? What you see?
Oh well, look. I mean, this is going to be like an ongoing thing. I mean, basically, it's going on, and it's one of these things that is never really, it goes back to the beginning of the conflict. I mean, you have this sort of thing that, what happened, back then. You have, I mean, there's a lot of aspects to it. One is
hopeful. Are you hopeful? Are you hopeful about that last?
Hopeful. I mean, look, the real issues have to be addressed before. It's going to be just sort of the simmering thing that could actually eventually really like develop into like a full blown sort of thing where you get more than just the parties involved. That involved. That's the big nightmare. The big nightmare is this, maybe it's not going to happen now because there's a ceasefire and things are like pulled back, but is it going to escalate to other people getting involved? Perhaps the Iranians, perhaps the Syrians, perhaps the Russians, perhaps the Americans. Did that happen? Yeah, that could happen under certain circumstances, and that's the big nightmare scenario everybody has because this is the sort of thing that is, has been never addressed because of the whole nature of the whole state. I mean, some people want to say, look, there was a war like 65 years ago and there's a winner and a loser. Other people don't believe in that. And because you have that discontinuity, and until you really have both people on the same page, you're going to have this sort of thing going back.
I'm going to hit you with what I think is the toughest dilemma about it, embedded in this, like you said, long-time conflict, 67 war. I was a kid. You weren't even born. So were you born like in 67? Where the hell were you in the 67 war?
I wish I was born after, but yeah, I was.
There you go. All right, so here we go. Here's the question: If the Palestinians cooperate with Hamas like they did the other day, they had a film of it. The Israelis fire a warning shot. That means get out of that building. We're about to blow that building up. This is what happens. They go, we're going. So the Palestinians local ran out and acted as human shield. They ran and swarmed all over the building. Now, so what I hear, the difficulty is, if the Palestinians want to be treated like victims, they can't do this. When they do it, even whether they are treated as victims or not, they don't care. They do it. Then Israel gets the excuse to go after them. And I kind of side with Israel. If your neighbor is this hostile to you, can you really let the person who hates you live in the very next room? Geographically, literally, right? I mean, that seems unlikely. That doesn't seem... Well, go ahead. You take it from there. I think that's the toughest part. That, to me, that's the toughest part.
That's right. That is. I mean, look, the firing the missiles into Israel is intolerable. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Any country is going to take action. There's two issues I see. One is, how much do the Palestinians have at all? How much are they all tied to Hamas at all? I mean, you have a lot of, people who are getting, most of the people who are getting hit are, innocent victims. But see, what I heard today was like they were trying to go after, say, 3 of these, what they considered
high value. That's right. High
value targets. But they were sitting outside the UN, the camp that would, protect people.
Right.
So now you have this decision that the Israelis are going to. It's like, when are we going to take them out? How are we going to take them out?
Wow.
Are we going to take them out? And they go after them. A lot of casualties. And now it's a matter of like, what is the line? People, a lot of people think that's a war crime because even though you're going to have to combat, you're not going.
Well, all right. So let's talk. That's it. That's it. So that's the call. Now, you say you're on the judge, and you have to decide: is it a war crime if somebody is hiding behind a population for you to fire anyway? Now, the same question when they got the bank robber has the hostage. If you have a shot at the bank robber and he's holding a hostage. Just like in any news story you've seen, they're holding on, and you have a shot. You're supposed to shoot. You do. Of course, a ricochet bullet could hurt the public. Of course, that you could shoot the public, but you can't go without. In other words, if there's going to be an unknown, you got to do your thing to bring order in the moment. I don't mean become a dictatorship, but I mean you have to in the moment. It has to. So this is what I think. The United States would do the same as Israel, and they would say, we regret we did it. Israel's not going to go that far because they don't regret it. But in the world of worlds that you and I grew up in, where the world matters and world leaders, they are not going to restrain themselves because of an innocent I mean, no one does that. No one restrains themselves internationally because of an innocent bystander. You know what I mean? Nobody does. No country. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, go ahead.
I think to a certain extent, with the phone calls, calling them up saying, okay, if you don't get to your house in 15 minutes, that sort of stuff. I think there's even more, if you want to consider that a restraint, there's even more restraint with Israel than there would be with other countries. I think they've done, to a certain extent, more than, say, the Americans would do under similar circumstances.
I don't think most countries today would give you any warning. They would say, look, your neighborhood is holding there's hostile people. What do you call them, hostiles? There's some word that military uses about the bad guy. There's bad guys in your area. We're telling you as of Sunday night, this week, we're coming after the bad guys. I wouldn't be there if I was you. That's really the best you can do for people. We're coming in.
That's done. Right.
That's the best. So I'm saying once you've done that, I'm underscoring your point. That's more than most. Most countries are not going to do that for you.
The problem is that, the thing is related to, if you want to consider, what people consider war crimes, that still falls under the fact that there's like these excessive casualties is basically, for most of the, let's say the UN and everybody else, see that as a war crime, just as they see that the rockets going into Israel as a war crime.
All right, absolutely. Let me do this.
That's the problem.
Excellent. Let me do this. I'm going to hit